All right, so the 90s are back, guys. And we need to talk about the things that make the 90s the 90s. All right, so first, what makes the 90s the 90s is, I think a lot, the makeup. We have a couple of epic looks. So they all have the same thing in common. That is, first of all, matte face. There is no makeup that is shiny or dewy or anything. Like, you want your face flat as it can be. And just a little blush. Because I don't know why we were allergic to contour. Heavily allergic to anything that even vaguely resembled contour. Just a little blush on the edge of your cheeks. Now, there were a couple other things that really made the 90s the 90s. Bangs. So that is me with bangs. Obviously, I put those pictures together. I wasn't, but remember those? You guys, while I'm talking to you about this, tell me about your 90s experience. I want to hear about all the things that make the 90s and 90s to you. For me, bangs, flannel, all the grunge stuff. Loved it. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to add to this look. We're going to add two very important things. We're going to add the tight line and the waterline liner. Had to have that. And we're going to add the lips that were always kind of a wine stained color. First things first, brown the works. This stuff is amazing and it's waterproof. And you're probably thinking, what are you doing with brown? Nobody wore brown. They wore black eyeliner in the 80s or 90s, right? No. When I was in the 90s, I could never find just the right lip liner. They were never brown enough, so I used eyeliner. So this is amazing. It works for everything. It can be eyeliner. It can be brow. It can be lips. It can be anything. It can be eyeshadow. It's a great eyeshadow. It's always waterproof, always smudge proof, so it makes a great lip liner. We really didn't overline our lips, so I'm actually going to do just the actual line of my lips. Everybody had skinny lips because they weren't lining the outside. They were lining right on the edge. Just going to go right up. There you go. See, doesn't that make a great liner color? It's crazy. I'm going to go down here. If I had found this color in the 90s, I would have been ecstatic. I feel like I'm making my lips look smaller, actually. I can't do it. I'm going to go back and I'm going to make them bigger. About halfway up, we're going to come out just a little and overline. Just on the outside of our lip line. The very outside. I just cannot stand the idea of having skinny little lips. I mean, I did it all through the 90s. I don't want to do it anymore. All right. So same thing on the bottom. Like that. Okay. This is the best lip liner color. I actually really like it for now because everybody's really into the shadowing. But for the 90s, this would have been so great. And then even it out a bit. I don't think I'm quite even. There we go. All right. Now, the important thing is to put on something that looks wine colored, and we're going to go with Berry Ignite. I swear every lipstick was some variety of wine in the 90s. I didn't really realize how dark we were wearing our lipstick until I looked back at it, and I was like, oh my gosh, every picture, everything I had on pretty dark lipstick. Hadn't even thought of it. Interestingly, my favorite lipstick at the time wasn't even a lipstick, it was a chapstick. And it was by Avon, and they don't make it anymore, and the color was berry, which is one of the reasons that I picked this, because I missed my berry lip gloss from Avon. All right, now we have what do they call them? The Video Vixen lips. And we're going to do our tight line. Now we're going to go into our black. So you guys, your tight line, if you don't know this, if you know it, you know what I'm about to say, but your tight line is the top. We don't call it the tight line. We call it the crazy line. Because what happens is, if you have that piece of skin, that sounds weird, but if you have that line of skin showing underneath your eyelids here, it makes you look like a crazy person. Like you see those mug shots and they all look like that, and you can see the white above. That makes people look crazy. And so we call it the crazy line because this is how we cover our crazy. So we're just going to take a little of our black, boom, same brush. We're going to lift this very gently up here, and just go along that line. The nice thing about the Works is it's waterproof. So you can do your tight line and you can do your water line and it will stay all day. If you've ever tried to use something that's not totally waterproof on your tight line or your water line, you know exactly what will happen. You're gonna, look like you just were the crier in a horror movie. That girl that couldn't get away from the chainsaw. And they always have that black going all the way down their face. Silly. All right. Man, I remember doing this so much in the 90s, but the makeup wasn't very good in the 90s. You guys remember it was all like CoverGirl? No offense, CoverGirl. I mean, they're great, but it just wasn't the same like technology as we have today. And oh my gosh, trying to get mascara that didn't run down your face or whatnot was like impossible. We also wore quite a bit of liner under our eyes at times, like really, really, what's the word for it? Not even smudged, but like a lot, like Courtney Love-ish, because, everybody was really into the whole grunge thing, and I live in Seattle, so this is where it came from. We were very into our grunge around here. Go. Boom. All right, there we go. We have our 80s eyes and our 80s lips, and it was super easy, or 90s. I keep saying 90s. All right, you know why? Because to me, the 90s is like yesterday. It's not like the 50s or the 60s, right? Like that still feels like very recent. Whereas the 80s feel to me like older. Like I remember thinking about the 50s with my mom, and she, we'd have like dress up day and we'd dress like the 50s. And I remember her being like, oh my gosh, like those were just my clothes. That's crazy. And it's the same thing with the 80s for us, but now it's the 90s. And I swear those were like yesterday. And just for the record, these are my actual 90s clothes, my actual 90s earrings. See, double pierced because I was a girl in the 90s. And extra credit for your 90s look if you have this guy. The legit Wilson's leather, just saying, boyfriend leather jacket. So what makes it a boyfriend jacket is it fits a girl and it has a waist and it's meant for a girl, but it has huge shoulders. Like you're wearing your boyfriend's coat, but you still have a waist. Boom. Now I'm an 80s or 90s chick. Gosh, I can't stop doing it. Alrighty. There we go. Now, here's something I'd love for you guys to do. Show us your 90s looks then and now. So find an old picture, redo it side to side, and post them and tag us because we would love to share you guys' 90s looks with us.